Especially on the CBR. Leaving Nicole's house, headed to my house. Oops, might be gas. This damn bike goes through gas like crazy. So today, we're talking about something that I haven't really talked about. Me and Nicole both haven't really talked about it much to anybody. Not too many people know about it. Talk about Nicole's surgeries that she has had. A few years back, she found out that she had endometriosis. And I'm gonna try to say this next word: interstitial cystitis, or IC. So I know a lot of people already know what endometriosis is, but the IC, basically what it does is it gives her like ulcers and shit like that on her bladder. And it's kind of a long story, but I'm gonna try to make it up quick. The endometriosis, she ended up having a hysterectomy to get rid of that, to prevent her from getting cancer in the long run. Cancer kind of runs in her family on a little bit, but not on that side, I don't think. So, but she had to get a hysterectomy just in case. She was very high risk on pregnancy. But the IC is like the big thing. And after she found out she had that, she went through a couple surgeries to kind of like burn the ulcers off. And it would only last for a little while. It wouldn't last very long. So what ended up happening is she ended up actually getting a pacemaker put in her left butt cheek. And the pacemaker shocker wires, like, you know, run to your heart, shock your heart or whatever, actually runs to her spine. And whenever her bladder starts acting up, it delivers a shock and kind of like shocks the ulcers, and it helps out. It keeps pain away. If it doesn't work, she feels like she has to pee constantly, and it's very uncomfortable. It's very painful. They had some numbing pills and stuff that just didn't ever really work. So ended up going this route. She's had 3 machines put on in the past 5 years, I think. 4 years, 5 years. The first machine, during her last pregnancy with little Wyatt, her little boy, the wires in her spine actually moved and weren't working properly. Well, they were going to go in and just fix the wires, but they had an updated version of the pacemaker that she had, so they just replaced the whole thing. And this was a little bit after Wyatt was born, so a little over 2 years ago. Well, the problem with it was it ended up putting the machine, the pacemaker, in the same pocket where the original one was in her butt cheek. They call it a pocket. Well, it was okay for a little while, but she's already got scar tissue there, and it was starting to hurt. Like every time she sat down, where the placement of it on her butt cheek was, it would actually push up into her scar and cause pain. And she dealt with it for a long time. the pain. She dealt with it probably for over a year. Finally, she couldn't deal with it anymore. You know, went back to the same doctor, and he recommended taking it out, put a new one in. They got a newer, updated one. And I mean, a little bit about these. They're good for like 7 years or something like that. The batteries in them, good for like 7 years. But so every 7 years she would have to have one removed and a new one put in. And she already had enough scar tissue there that it was causing problems. So he opted to put this other one in that's actually rechargeable, Bluetooth. She got this big old thing, and she sticks it up against her butt cheek, and it Bluetooth charges it. Like wirelessly, like your phone would do, you know, whatever. And it's the advantage is he put it in he used the same scar. He did not use the same pocket like the scars here. He'd always put it on the low side. He put this one up on the high side. Also, it's tiny. I don't know exact measurements of the original one. I would say they were pretty square. Maybe you know, 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch by, you know, like a 1/4 inch thick or something like that. I'm not sure, but the new one is like 1/4 of the size. It's fucking tiny, but because it doesn't have to have a long run battery in it, that's why it's so much tinier. And it's the better way to go. It's a lot more comfortable for her. It seems to be working like amazingly right now. What the fuck is this guy doing? So far, she's had it in for about 1.5 months now. It's taken a little bit longer to heal up because she's had so much scar tissue and stuff, but it's definitely working, and she's feeling a lot better. She can sit. The main problem is the wires running to her spine. They get aggravated easily because of where they are, and you know, she doesn't have a whole bunch of meat back there, so those will aggravate her. You can see them. You can see them like kind of protruding out of her skin, or you know, under her skin. You can see them protruding out a little bit. I mean, it's kind of interesting that, you know, one thing, it's, you know, it's a pacemaker. It's made for one thing, but used for other, and they don't just use them for, you know, hearts, and this actually use them for other stuff too. So it's actually very interesting how it works, but because I'd have never thought it, you know, you hook the leads to your spine and it shocks the hell out of your bladder to keep ulcers off of it. Like I said, we really haven't talked about it much, you know, like publicly. I mean, like in our personal life, a lot of people know about it, but, you know, online life, social media life, I haven't really talked about it much. Some people know, close friends, but not a whole bunch of people. Curiosity, if you know anybody like that out there, it's got maybe the same issues. It's a lot more common than you would think. When I first found out about it, I thought it was kind of rare, and it's really not. It's kind of common. I'm about to get on the interstate. We all know you can't hear shit on this bike on the interstate, so I'll finish this video in a minute.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Anyway, so I'm off the highway, sitting at a red light, because, you know, that shit sucks. So that's pretty much all of it, though. I mean, there's like a lot to it, but there's not a lot. It's like the simplified version of it. I hate that she had to go through it. I hate that she still feels stuff. It kind of feels pain, but it's honestly for the better. I just wish she didn't have to go through it 3 times. So that's pretty much all of it. If you're new here, you know, go check out a couple of the other videos. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, comment, share. Go over and hit me up on my Instagram. That's where all the good stuff gets posted. You can hit up Nicole's Instagram. As always, I will catch you on the flip side. Later.